So do you come here often?
This is actually...
That sounds like a pickup line.
Yeah.
Hey everyone, it's Kara Dixon with Candid with Kara, and today we are joined with John Collick here at Jamestown Island. Can't tell we're on an island, but we are out here. A little muggy, but we are having fun.
Yes, we are.
So I'm actually meeting you in person for the first time. We did a Zoom interview back in May. So how have you been since then?
Busy.
Yeah.
Very busy, but good.
All right. And can you tell me what you're running for?
I'm running for Congress in Virginia's 3rd Congressional District.
All right. And why are you running? What really motivated you to run for office?
Honestly, it was as simple as making sure there's 2 candidates on the ballot. And, you know, Bobby Scott and I, our values are much different, and how we would vote on the issues that are important to the 3rd District are completely opposite.
All right. And why are we here at Jamestown?
Jamestown is just a beautiful place. I love American history. And since I've lived in Virginia, I've been studying Virginia history. One thing that I have found in the last 5 years is my ancestors came to Jamestown. So this is where my family started its America dream. And we went up into Pennsylvania, then into Maine, into Boston. In the last couple generations on my mother's side have been in Boston, and now I'm back where we started from.
All right. Are you ready to show me around?
Absolutely.
Okay, cool. All right, our first question. If you had unlimited time, money, power, and resources, what issue would you fix?
One issue. There's one important issue that affects the 3rd District, overarching over everything, and that's education. Right now, we have an 82% graduation rate in the district. Now we've got the city of Suffolk that does pretty good, in high 90s graduation rate. Chesapeake, very good. Again, high 90s, real close to 100% graduation rate. Isle of Wight, same thing. Well, we've got an 82% graduation rate overall. What cities are failing? What cities do we need help in? Well, I would argue that Portsmouth, Newport News, Norfolk, and Franklin really need a lot of help. So we've got to get the money into those cities, but it's not just the money, because we've done that so many times before throughout history. We've got to make school choice an option. When that was an option back in the 90s and early 2000s up in DC, the children that went through those schools, broken homes, single mom households, in poverty, almost all of them went on to college, their first or second choice college. Why can't we do that nationwide? We should, and we need to. The second part is high school. We've got a lot of kids that really don't want to go to college, feel they can't, or really want to work with their hands. So if they don't go to college right now, there's nothing else for them to do except find a minimum wage job, maybe $10 an hour. If they know somebody, maybe they can get into an apprenticeship program. But if they don't, like most of the kids in southern Newport News, okay, most of the kids in Portsmouth that live near the shipyard, they can't get into those programs. Well, they've got no skills. We need vocational technical high schools to bring them up to level they need to be for entry-level jobs. Because part of that process would be internships with the shipyards, with the various companies that use those skills, so when they graduate, they're more likely to have a job immediately. And most people that come out of a voc tech start earning in the high 50s, okay? 18 years old, out of high school. earn $50,000 a year. Okay? Some are earning six figures by the time they're 21, especially if they're in the computer field. We've got to have that, because what else is that going to do for us? Not just educate the kids, not just fix the graduation rate, but many of these kids who would be standing out on the side of the street getting into trouble will be too busy. And when the workday is over, they're either going to be out spending their money on their sweetheart, or they're going to be sleeping and resting for the next day, and they're not going to blow the money, but they're going to invest and save. They're going to buy nice cars, nice homes. Okay, they're going to take care of mom. I mean, so many good things are going to happen. We're going to be able to reduce the generational welfare. We're going to be able to make sure that a lot of these kids who would otherwise get in trouble and go to jail don't. So we're going to help everybody around. And who else does it help? It helps the entire population of Hampton Roads, because our in real estate values will skyrocket. Okay, because we've got a high graduation rate. Our real estate values will skyrocket because we have a very low crime rate. So everything works in unison for everybody. That's how we fix the biggest part of our problems that we have here in Hampton Roads, is education.
So it's been a tough year, 2020. There's been a lot of loss, a lot of changes for a lot of us. A lot of people are feeling down, maybe depressed. What message would you give to people right now just to try to make them feel some type of hope?
Our country has been through so much in our over 200 years of history. In fact, we've been through so much since the first settlers landed here at Jamestown. And every single time we've come back. We're going to come back. Okay, the Spanish flu pandemic, the world came back. We're going to. Now, what we do need is strong leadership to make sure the economy bounces back as quickly as possible. And I think we're going to get that with President Trump. We get that. We get school choice. We get vote tech. We are going to flourish like we have never flourished before, because this is also the optimum time to train people in new skills while a lot of people are out of work. And we know what skills we need, and a lot of them are in the healthcare industry. So this is a win-win for us, okay? Maybe it's what my mother would have called a blessing in disguise. But we're going to come out of this, and we're going to come out of this stronger than ever.
So we have been banished to this First Amendment area here at Jamestown. So I guess you can say whatever you want here.
Yeah, I was under the impression that the whole country was the First Amendment area.
What is one item on your bucket list, unless you've already completed your bucket list?
Oh no. When we complete our bucket list, life's over. Probably the one item that I really, really want to accomplish is I want to take my wife on a honeymoon. I want to take her to Europe and Israel.
You never took her on a honeymoon?
No.
What?
We got married on February 6, 1986.
Yeah.
And on February 7th, 1986, I was on a ship deploying.
Oh, wow.
So we had never gone on a real honeymoon.
So you,
So I really want to take her. I've taken her to Europe once on a business trip, but that doesn't count.
yeah.
We really want to go on a no-kidding 10, 14-day honeymoon, just the two of us, and just to have nothing but fun.
We're going to start a GoFundMe so you can take her on this honeymoon.
And what's her name?
Her name is Lisa.
Oh, that's my mom's name. Are you my dad?
That's like I hope not.
Just kidding. Tell her you're gonna take her.
Okay, Lisa, I plan on taking you on that trip to Europe that we've been talking about.
We got it on film now, Lisa. You're welcome.
You can't back out now. Yep. Who is your role model or your inspiration?
Wow, that's a difficult one. But if I had to pick just one person, His name was Sergeant Major Frederick Douglass II. He was killed in Lebanon after I had joined the Marine Corps. But he was stationed in the Naval Air Station just outside of my hometown of Abington. He was stationed at South Weymouth Naval Air Station, and he was the Sergeant Major for the Marine Air Group there. Through my senior year in history, he would always sit down with me and ask me, well, what do you plan on doing? Have you ever thought about the military? And he'd just probing questions. Never, ever tried to get me to consider the Marine Corps. He just wanted me to think for myself what I wanted to do with my life. After I graduated from high school, we had a couple of really nice talks. And then he contacted a recruiter, sent him to my house without me knowing it. And the recruiter said, well, why don't you just take the test, see what you could score. And he thought I was your average Joe. We got back from taking the test at the testing center. He's like, you can have any job in the Marine Corps you want. You have scored the highest I have ever seen in my life. What do you want to do? If it wasn't for Sergeant Major Douglas, I would never have had a successful career, because every decision I made, every Marine I counseled, every piece of advice I gave to an officer, I thought about what would Sergeant Major Douglas say first. So he was probably the most inspirational person in my life.
So you're a history guy. Did you watch Hamilton?
I did, with my daughter. My daughter is a huge theater buff.
Oh yeah,
she's
you told me
18
that.
years
Yeah.
old, and we watched Hamilton from start to finish about a month ago.
Yeah.
And I'm not a big musicals guy, and I do pick out historical fact, so she probably didn't enjoy watching it with me as much, but it was a nice play.
You're
was
watching it
enjoyable.
like wrong.
Pretty much.
Kind of wrong.
Yeah.
What was your favorite song?
I don't remember any of the songs.
Alexander Hamilton.
Yeah, she sings
That's
that all
in like
the
every
time.
song. That line's in every song.
Yep.
Alexander Hamilton.
She's seen it one time and got on me because I didn't like ask her about it. But it was like 2 months after it came out, so I was over
Wow.
it by then. So this has been a unprecedented year. What do you think Congress did well in response to COVID, and what do you think Congress could have done better?
I honestly don't think Congress did very well at all. They passed the stimulus bill, which gave everybody $1,200. Most people I know didn't need that $1,200, but I do know a number of people that could have used more. That should have been based on need. It should not have been a check to every single person, but it should be based on what somebody needs. I've got someone with Down syndrome. We have a couple caregivers. They don't make much money. The $1,200 for them was a lifesaver, but they could have used a lot more help just to maintain their life. My wife didn't stop working. We retired. We didn't lose a dime. We didn't need anything. Yet we got $2,900, I think it was. We didn't need that. And most of the people that I know, most of my friends are in the same boat I am, in the military, working for the government, own their own business that was kept open during COVID. They didn't need it. And when I talked to them about it, they all agreed. It should have gone to the people who needed it most. And that's what my wife and I have done, for the last, I think, 5 years now, or 4 years. We have been helping those in need. And that's what Congress should have done. Now, I'm not a big believer in giving everybody, entitlement benefits. I am a big believer in people paying into Social Security. That's theirs. They're getting it. And helping the disabled, helping those that can't work because of some form of disability, they're the people who need the help. But to give a blanket check out to everybody, I think is wrong. I know a young girl, she wants to have a job. She just turned 18. Her mom gets benefits from the government. She had to quit her job or her mom would lose benefits. That's wrong. One of the proposals I have is she can live in her mom's house until she's 25. None of her money counts that she makes against her mother. That way, she can afford to buy herself a car. She can afford to pay somebody to teach her how to drive a car and get her license, and she will be able to get her own apartment. But right now, the way the system is set up, it's set up to make that young girl dependent on the government and become the next generation of somebody on welfare. And there's thousands of people in this area like that that don't want to be in that situation. So I think Congress has done an abysmal job across the board with how they take care of Americans. And I'm not leaving either party out of it.
Big election coming up this year for the presidential election.
Yes.
How significant is this in history, really?
Well, we always say that every election is the most important election of my lifetime. I actually believe that this election has the same ramifications of the election of 1864. We see the violence around the country. I believe no matter which way it goes, there's going to be unrest. We need to make sure that we have a very strong president, that we have very strong governors, very strong mayors, and the strongest possible sheriffs that we can have to put down the violence, because that's something we just don't need. We have been very fortunate in the 3rd District because we have seen very, very minimal violence, okay? We've seen plenty of protests, okay? We've seen it. I've been, in a couple demonstrations in Portsmouth. But the thing is, the people on both sides are willing to talk. I want this district to set the example for the rest of the country, okay? If we do, and the president picks up on it, which I think he will, and I can explain that later, then we are going to be fine. But I do believe there is going to be some violence around the country initially after the election and probably again after the inauguration. But we just got to tamp it down very quickly, and then let's get back on course to being America.
Congress passes laws that the states have to enact.
Right.
What can Virginia's congressional leaders do to assist the state in rolling out programs like the CARES Act, like big programs that have to be implemented?
Right. Well, the first thing is I, again, do not believe that we should be doing unfunded mandates. If the Congress mandates something, they should fund it 100%. Not tell the state you fund it. We should fund the whole thing. Now, in a case like the CARES Act, okay, and if I remember correctly, that comes with employment requirements, do's and don'ts for the employer and the employee. The state should be making sure that every employer understands their responsibilities, and they haven't done that in Virginia. Okay, how do I know? Because people call me and I provide them with the fact sheet. Here's the fact sheet for your boss, give it to your boss, this is for you, so you understand. So most of my friends who have come to me about the CARES Act, and they couldn't go to work for some reason or another, because they couldn't get a babysitter, kids are out of school, any reason whatsoever, every last one of them got a paycheck. Most of their bosses didn't know ahead of time, but once they got that, they did what they had to do. And so the state needs to do that, because I could only do it for like 20 or 30 people. The state needs to be able to do it for a few million.